Welcome to part 11 of my Building the Flying Dutchman. As you can see, I've made some progress, so I'm just going to dive right into showing you how I got this far. I've come across a minor dilemma. You see this part number 8, and then it shows this part number 10. There is no part number 10. This is the part sheet that has those thickness and material, and there's 8, 9, 15. There's no 10, nor is there an 11. Now I can make those pretty easily because they're just straight pieces, but there's no such thing. Here's the parts that I'm making. This part goes all the way across the very bottom of the ship, and then this piece that goes up. This is the piece that goes across the bottom of the ship. That's a 45-degree angle, and it fits right like that on this piece that is supplied. And there is a piece that I have to make that goes here, and it has the hinges that hook this piece in to this, so it holds it on the ship. So it's this piece right here that I'm making, and at the bottom of it, it also has an angle to match up, and I think it's going to be 45 degrees. Here's that piece, and I'm going to try and cut a 45-degree angle and see if it works. So that fits in, and then that will fit right in there and line up. I have to cut the top off a little bit, but that is going to work. If you're having to make these two pieces like I am, it is a 45-degree angle. Working on these hinge brackets for the rudder, what has worked for me is to put the bracket on, and you need to bend them kind of so they'll fit, because you can't really put a nail through that hole when it's at an angle like that. So I take these clamping scissors, and these will hold it in place and lock down. Then I can make a starter hole. Don't necessarily have to, but it's a good idea too. So I use a pin. Sometimes I'll drill them out with a micro drill bit, but these are working fine because this rudder material is not, it's not really wood per se. It's kind of a pressed board. These nails are a little bit too long, so you have to shave off a little bit. I normally do it at a little bit of an angle so I have a point to work with. Now I take another pair of clamping scissors, clamp the nail on there, small drop of CA glue somewhere in the process, line this up with a hole, my little miniature hammer. You can either pound it in, or I use a punch. Turn it over and do the same thing on the other side. I'm concerned that this bottom piece that I'm making would not be strong enough to support itself with just adhesive of some type, whether that be CA glue or wood glue. So what I've done is drilled some holes into all those frame members. Once I get some adhesive on, then I will tap these toothpicks in further and then cut them off, and then I'll sand this down. I have it glued in place there. You can see one of the toothpicks hanging down. I'll cut that off after it dries. I used rubber bands to kind of hold it up tight. Use some clamps to then make it so the rubber bands didn't have to go all the way around the ship. Once this dries, then I'll come back and I will plane this edge off right here so those match up. There's a side rail piece, 014, that runs the entire length of the ship. However, that particular piece, which is 2 millimeters by 3 millimeters, is not long enough to go across the ship. This is a piece of it. I would have to have a seam, and this also bows quite a bit, and it gives you the actual measurement down. Well, you could bow a single piece of wood, but 2 pieces of wood, it's a little tricky to get it to bow naturally. Now, there will be some spots where it's cut all the way through, but I still want to attain that bow, and then I will file where some of the artwork that goes around the cannon ports. I happen to have a similar piece of wood. It is a bit thicker, but it's the same width. And it's plenty long, because you need a piece about 2 foot long, and these are 3 foot long. I think it should be obvious. You can tell I've done some additional work, and I've put another coat, or actually my first coat, of tung oil to give it this finish that it has. It brings out the beauty of the wood. It actually absorbs into the wood, and they recommend 2 coats. What you do is you put on the first coat heavy as best you can, wait 15 minutes, and wipe off the excess with a lint-free towel of some sort. It says do not use paper towels, but I have used paper towels without any problem, although there's a little piece of paper towel right there. And it gives it a rich, nice look. I know this ship is supposed to be black and kind of downtrodden. I just can't bring myself to do that. I really like this look. So this is going to be a luxury version of the Flying Dutchman. The thing I have been working on lately are these side rails. There's one here, and I used a little bit larger size brass nail to attach that. Same thing with this wider one here. And then there's a real thin one up here. And this did not come in one piece. The pieces they have for this, it wasn't long enough, so I was going to have a seam to get this smooth bend. It was just easier to make it out of a single piece. That's what I did. It is balsa wood, so it's very, very soft. It will get dinged up easily, but I'm okay with that. So it stained up nicely and it looks nice. I think this wide piece here I also made, and I think that was also because this wider piece, I think, is one I also made. And again, I don't think the one that came with the kit was long enough to do it without a seam. I wouldn't have minded the seams, but none of the other planking were short pieces. Someday I'm going to tackle that. I'm going to do a ship with short planks, but that just takes an awful lot of work. I have not done the tung oil on the main deck, and it is a little different color. It is a brown, whereas the outside is black cherry. I will do that eventually. I've got some rails to put on here. I still have a lot of work to do. I just want to bring you up to date to where I'm at. Up here on the bow, I have attached this portion. There's a lot of work that will be done up here. One area that I'm not real happy with on this particular model is, for some reason, this piece, this keel, I guess, is made out of like a fiberboard. It's not actual wood. And I almost wish I would have traced and just made my own out of actual cherry or walnut or oak or something. But I'll stick with it. I could maybe put something over it. I'm considering doing the copper leafing on it and then aging it. That's a possibility. We'll see. And again, remember, this piece here was not included in the kit. It was not there. I looked everywhere. I don't have that many parts left, so I made that. And I've also installed the back rudder, and you have to trim these off to make them fit. I would recommend pre-drilling the holes somewhat so you can get everything to fit properly and not split the wood. The other thing I did is they had you use just pieces of brass, like each hinge would have its own small shaft of a piece of brass. I just used one brass piece and tied them all together, and I'm happy with that. Actually, I don't want to force it, but I think this could turn, but nope, maybe not. Maybe I glued it in place. Yes, I think I did. There's a piece up here where I glued it so it's not going to be able to turn. I may trim off this very bottom piece a little bit before I finish the entire project. Because it was so hard to do the tung oil on the wood and not get it on these, I went ahead and I did cover them, and they don't seem any worse for the wear. They have a little bit of a shine to them, but that is fine with me. Once I get the tung oil done on the opposite side, then I can start putting these appointments on. I'll have to trim the little piece out there where it touches, so that'll need to recess back. That might be helpful that is balsa wood, because it'll be easy to trim into it. And then the lower portion has these almost like gargoyle heads, probably are. And you can see the aging process that I did on these. I may put the tung oil on these, I'll decide later, because it will mute the color somewhat like it did here. But I like that look too. That will be it for part 11 of my Building the Flying Dutchman. Obviously you can see it is coming together, and I think it's coming together well. I'm very happy with it. Got a lot of work ahead of me. I'm going to be off for a couple of weeks. I'm going to take a mid-winter's break. So bear with me. I'll be back in a few weeks and get started again. This is Boiler Dan 1, and as always, thanks for watching.